I want to ask you guys a very serious question. This is heavy stuff, so I need you to be honest with me. Can a Pokemon be a fire type, even if a part of its body isn't literally on fire? Is it at all possible to interpret a design as fire type if the Pokemon in question doesn't actually have flame imagery explicitly plastered on it in some way? And moreover, how important is it for a player to be able to recognize a fire type at first glance? Can we get creative with what is or isn't a fire type? Keep these questions in mind because I'm sure a few of you will be asking the same thing at one point in this video. We're back, guys, and yes, it's finally here. I am tackling one of the most requested subjects for the Maza region, a pseudo-legendary Pokemon. You may not be familiar with the term, even as a Pokemon fan. Pseudo-Legendaries are never directly referred to as such in the games, or even in the show. It's a term used more by competitive Pokemon players to describe a Pokemon with a base stat total of 600. This number is usually reserved to legendary Pokemon. In other words, these Pokemon are as strong as the strongest Pokemon in the game. There's usually only one pseudo-legendary introduced in each generation, with the exception of Gen 3, where Game Freak decided that the Elite Four needed to be just a little too hard. But there's more to these Pokemon than just having good stats. There's something special about them. Sure, they got the name Pseudo-Legendary because of their BST, but a combination of their rarity, endgame presence, and, of course, their design makes them feel as desirable and exclusive as the actual box mascots themselves. I think as young children especially, there's something so fantastical about encountering one of these Pokemon. When I was around 8 years old and Ruby and Sapphire had just come out, I loved Salamence, but I had no idea how to get one. No one in the game tells you where to find the first form, and even with Bagon in your Pokedex, the area in which it's located is misleading, as you can only find it in one hidden room of Meteor Falls. Needless to say, when Drake sent out his big blue beastie at the end of the Elite Four, I was far more impressed and terrified than when I encountered Kyogre for the first time. Each pseudo-legendary looks the part. Most of them are downright terrifying. Tyranitar, Salamence, Metagross, Garchomp, Hydreigon, and Kommo-o have incredibly imposing vibes, and I think that we all have memories that reinforce that emotion. Some of them, however, break this brutal mold. Dragonite, Goodra, and Dragapult still convey a sense of undeniable power, yet at the same time, they're certainly not as scary as their pseudo-legendary counterparts. One might even say that they're cute. Okay, well, I don't know anyone who doesn't think Dragonite is cute. Look at that face. So basically, a pseudo-legendary is a Pokemon that not only fights like a god, but kinda looks like one too. And today, I'm gonna try my hand at recreating that feeling in a Pokemon design of my own. My jumping off point for this line was another highly requested subject by our fans, and it actually kind of worked perfectly for a pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Axolotls, sometimes called walking fish, are neotenic salamanders that, while incredibly rare and quickly going extinct, can be found in certain parts of Mexico. Mini biology lesson. Neoteny is when an animal reaches adulthood without fully physically maturing. It can occur in a lot of different species, including humans, but it's especially prominent in amphibians, animals that make a pretty significant change between their juvenile and adult forms. As such, axolotls look very different from other closely related species. Most iconically, they're exposed gills that fan out like a vascular mane from behind their heads. Axolotls are cute, there's really no getting around it. So cute, in fact, that there are already a few Pokemon based off of this animal. Wooper, Mudkip, Marshtomp, and Swampert all draw inspiration from these curious critters, and all of them are as cute as their inspiration would imply. That said, we need a bit of a distinction between our new Mon and the already existing axolotl-inspired designs. I decided to look a little deeper into the etymology of the name axolotl. Turns out it's derived from the ancient Aztec language Nahuatl, and is actually pronounced axolotl. It can be loosely translated to mean water dog, and from there I got an idea for my first form. Now, keep in mind the question I asked you all at the beginning of this video, because it's going to be relevant pretty soon. My sketches began with something very larval. Like all amphibians, axolotls start off as fully aquatic animals, and look very much like frog tadpoles. My goal was to hybridize the shape of a tadpole with that of a simplified icon representing fire. See, my goal with these designs was to create something that looked somewhere in between a real dog and an axolotl, but moreover, I wanted to include some influence from the Aztec god of fire, Xolotl, who is often depicted as a dog or with dog imagery. Xolotl actually means dog in the Nahuatl language. Anyway, I decided that my first form could be a little simpler, focusing more on just being a cute little water puppy and saving the deific imagery for later on down the line. This also meant that I could save the fire typing for later on as well. I wanted to incorporate the iconic gills of an axolotl in a way that was different from Wooper and Mudkip, and I realized that if I stylized them a bit, I could make them in the shape of pointed dog ears. This visual theme would persist throughout the line. As far as the colors, I went with what felt like the most obvious choice, a pale pink with blood red accents and a few yellow details. This would help us ease into the eventual fire typing of the next two forms. Zolsmol, the water dog Pokemon. Zolsmol live in remote and isolated bodies of water deep in the Maza jungle. They prefer the dark, as their sensitive skin can be damaged easily by the sun. Despite their reclusive nature, trainers who seek these Pokemon find them incredibly friendly and energetic. So long as their skin stays moist, they can live comfortably out of the water, and in spite of their underdeveloped legs, enjoy running around with their trainers on land. In battle, they use their elongated tongue to lash out at foes. The tongue is as vulnerable as it is dangerous, and young Zolsmol often hurt themselves in the process. Now we start to get a little crazy with the design. This whole line was an exercise in deviating from my source material. I tend to get too caught up in the references for these Pokemon and end up making something that's kind of just a cartoon animal. Not this time. I wanted this line to look like nothing on Earth, while still being recognizable as its inspiration. The pose was key in jumping from salamander larva to putting the dog in water dog. I wanted it to look yappy and feisty like a little chihuahua, and maybe even a little similar to Tachupi. I stuck with the gill ears, but made the mouth and teeth much more canid. I also beefed up the whole look from a skinny little pink baby to something a bit more substantial. You'll see that I messed with the final design a lot by the end, tweaking some of the proportions so it didn't all look so balanced. For colors, I considered making each stage a gradient from pink into blue, but the in-between color I picked for the second stage, it was ugly. I actually settled on the blue color after I finished my first pass on it and attempted to make a shiny form. The colors that I used for that were just so much better, so I decided to skip the gradient and have the second and third stages both be blue. This was mostly in reference to the fact that axolotls gain more pigment as they mature, but it also helped the oranges and yellows pop a lot more. After all, this is a fire and water type, and that's kind of a tough thing to convey visually. But again, I call back to my original question, and ask you to apply it to this and the next design. Amphibark, the water dog Pokemon. Amphibark limbs are designed for both aquatic and terrestrial locomotion, but it seems to prefer living on land more. On land, their delicate gills must stay wet in order for them to breathe properly, but in the rainy jungles that they call home, they can accomplish this without ever having to return to water. They also regulate their body temperature using these gills, and will sometimes radiate excess heat up to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. This heat can be redirected as attacks in battle. In the final form of my axolotl dog Aztec fire god Pokemon, I really wanted the look to have that pseudo-legendary feel. Rare, exclusive, powerful, and a little bit strange. And like Dragonite and Goodra, I wanted this Pokemon to fall more under the cute but tough category of the pseudo-legendaries. And like in the second form, I wanted to get real fantastical with it. It's a little dog, it's a little axolotl, it's a little fire god, but it's all Pokemon. And Pokemon, at the end of the day, can look like whatever. It was nice to have those base concepts to build off of, but I decided that this was going to be pretty indulgent for me. I got real loose with my sketch, and my final design had some real fluid movement because of it. There was a lot of tweaking, even in the final rendition. You'll see me add in some additional markings to the Pokemon. I wanted it to look like it was wearing a collar. I feel like I'm getting better and better at recreating a convincing Pokemon official art look, or at the very least becoming consistent within my own style. I'm also learning some new tricks in Procreate to help me make last-minute edits to these designs, like putting all the layers in one group so that I can manipulate them all at the same time without merging them down on each other. The last thing I added was a big old tongue. I liked that visual motif from the first form, and it added that pop of color to the head that I needed. But, I ask again, does it look enough like a fire type? Are the red and yellow gills enough? Or conversely, does it really need to look like what we consider to be conventional fire imagery? Let me know down in the comments. Parozotl, the cenote Pokemon. These incredibly rare Pokemon live in massive underground lakes. These lakes are connected through caves and tunnels, and Parozotl can navigate the jungle through these secret passageways. They share their territory with Zolupine, and when the two Pokemon meet, the ensuing battles can be catastrophic. Parozotl can heat up the water around it using its specialized external gills. The superheated water will occasionally erupt from beneath the ground, showering the surrounding area with scalding hot rain. So, all in all, I'm super happy with these guys, but you have to let me know what you think. You've all been begging for an axolotl Pokemon, and does this line meet your expectations? Give me that feedback down in the comments. I've got a ton more ideas for Maza Pokemon, but like always, drop your thoughts and ideas down below and/or in the Discord. In the forefront of my mind was someone's suggestion for a Mazian Roselia and Roserade based off of marigolds, and I'm kind of loving that idea. So there might be some more regional variant content coming up next. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Like and subscribe, you know the drill. And don't forget to check out our Twitch. You all are the best, peace and love, and I'll see you all in the next video.